Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Somebody can just type a yes, I'll know that we're ready to get started. Okay, very good. All right, so today's topic is we're going to talk about the user content collection in Blackboard. I want to thank all of you that were able to join us today. This is going to be a new focus for how we encourage faculty to think about adding content to their courses. I just want to take a minute to talk about kind of why we want to talk about this method versus how you typically have been adding content to your courses. One of the things we're going to talk about today is that this is going to make a lot better use of our server space. When you put files in your user content collection instead of your course content collection, and then you share those in a course, whenever that course is copied or whenever you have to put it in multiple sections or multiple courses, it's all pointing to the same file location, so there won't be multiple files taking up server space. In addition, for the benefit of the user, whenever you need to make an update to a file, then everywhere that file is used, the updates will show to all of those locations, so you don't have to remember to go in and change it if it's used in 10 different places. You can change it just in one place. So with that, I'm going to turn on sharing my screen now. And let's see, let me make sure I get the right monitor here. Okay. Okay, and I've got two monitors. Can everybody see my Blackboard screen? Is that what you're seeing? Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of just show you where the user content collection is, and then I'm going to break down how to use that in multiple places. So if I am logged into Blackboard, at the top here, I've got a place called the content collection, and I've got a few files that I've put up here for right now. And one is this file called content collection, and I'm going to demonstrate for you where this is already shared, and then I'll step through and show you how to actually go in and do this yourself. So if I look at this file from the content collection, and I may have to move this over. Here is the file, so it's just this Word document, and I have already used this file in two locations, so I'm going to go back and show you where I've used that. So I've used it in this course, BBD 141. This is a course I haven't started using yet. So here is that same file, and I've given it a title, Sample Content Collection. And I'm just going to demonstrate for you that it is the exact same file that you saw in the previous example. Okay. And then a second place that I've used this file is in a sandbox that I have. So if I go down to my Walton sandbox, again, I've used the same file in this course as well. And again, it's all the same file, although it's in multiple locations. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate for you. Let's suppose that I need to make an update to that file. One of the things that I noted about that file, and I'm going to go to my downloads folder where I've already downloaded the file, and I'm going to open this file doesn't have a title, so I'm going to add a title. And I'm going to save it. I'm going to save the same name, same location, and I must have it open. Let me see, I must have it open multiple times. Let's see what I've got here. I'm just going to give it a new name just so that, or I'll save it to my desktop. There we go. Okay, so I have added the title. Now, the beauty of this is if I go back to my content collection and I come here, just like in your course content collection, if you make changes to a file, instead of uploading the file again, if you overwrite the file, then you are going to replace what's on the server with this new file. So on my desktop, I saved a file, the file content collection, and I'm going to submit. So now just to demonstrate, if I open this from my content collection, there is the change with the title. Also, if I go to those two courses where it was used, I should see the title if I open from there as well. So I'm going to go to the first one and open the file. And you'll notice the title has in fact been added. So let's take a look at that second course, which was my sandbox. So everywhere that there is a link to that file, changes have been made. So I think that this would be very exciting for faculty to know. If you're using similar files in multiple courses, you can fix it or make changes once and not have to worry about all those places that that file was used, as long as you embedded it in your course from the content collection. So let's take a look at how to actually do that. So now I've shown you an example of where it's already been done. Let me go into my sandbox and let me show you how to use or add files to your course from your user content collection. So I'm going to go to my lessons area again, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a file. And instead of browsing my computer like you typically would do, I'm going to browse my content collection. Now when I click on Browse Content Collection, the location it's looking at is the content collection for the course that I'm in, or the last place that I may have navigated to. So what I want to do here is I want to come up here to the Browse button and go down to where it says My Content. My Content is the user content collection. And so I have 3 files there, and I'm just going to pick this other Word document, and I'm going to give it a title. And here you go. There is the file now located in my course. And again, because I pulled that from the user content collection and not from my computer or not from the course content collection, it's making a link to one location, and every time this course is copied, or if I put this file in multiple locations, it's all pointing to the same location. So that's more efficient use of your files. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about, okay, how does this change maybe your workflow from how you typically have been adding content to your courses? Certainly if I'm in a course and I just simply need to add a file like I've just done, I've already demonstrated that. But if you want to think ahead for a minute, let's suppose you're building a new course and you have several files that you know you're going to be using in said course. This kind of is where you might want to think about changing your workflow and how you think about adding content to your courses, and start up front with organizing your files first, and I'm going to show you how you can get those all added to your content collection more easily. So in your content collection, right now, I went in and cleaned mine out, and I just put some random files in here. But one thing you might want to think about is organizing your files by the course. For example, if I'm teaching a BBD 141 course, I might want to go ahead and get all those courses ready. And I'm going to show you an example of where I've done that. So in my documents folder, I've got a folder here, BBD 141, and it's got several files located in that folder. I'm going to navigate back for just a second. I don't have to add those files individually to my content collection. I can add all of those files to my content collection and already have the folder created to house them very easily. Right now, I've already got them in a folder. If I right-click, and this is if you're using a PC. For you Mac folks, we can get some instructions to you if there's any Mac folks that are interested later on how to zip a file or compress a file. So if I right-click and go down here to Send To and choose Compressed Zip Folder, I'm going to see another copy, and I don't know if you can see it very clearly because it's kind of a small icon. Let me change the view here to a larger icon so you can see that. So this is where my original folder was over here, and then right under that I've got one with a zipper on it. That is the zipped file that I've just created. So basically I've compressed all of that together. Anytime you want to upload multiple files via the web, you need to do the step of zipping those files before you can upload them. So I'm going to go back to my content collection now. And for upload, there's two choices. I can upload files, which is what you typically probably have been doing if you've been using course content collection. Or there's upload zip package. So I'm going to choose upload zip package. And I'm going to browse to the location where I had that zip folder. And there it is. Now, one thing that I did notice, it does have a link title. And when I was first experimenting with this, I put a link title that didn't include all of the file name, and it got rid of the .zip extension. And what I discovered is it created an error on the upload. So don't worry about changing this link title when you upload. When I click on Submit, it automatically creates the folder, and notice the .zip is not part of the name. And in that folder, there are all of the files that were located in that on my computer. So now in my content collection, I have everything organized and all of my files are ready for me to now go into my course. So I could pick, I'm just going to pick one of my courses. Let's go back down to that sandbox. And now if I want to add a file, again, browse content collection, and I'm going to make sure I go to my user content, and in that file I can choose any file, and the rest of the screen looks very similar to how you have been adding files in the past. I'm just going to put sample PDF as my link title. Okay, and it's as easy as that. Emily's given us a note. When using the content collection, the link title is actually the file name itself. Thus, if you never want to update the link title in content collection, only update a link title in a content area such as getting started lessons, course resources, etc. Yes, that's true. But just know that when you're uploading a zip file, I noticed that if you delete the .zip, yes, it would create an error. So be sure not to do that. Does anyone have any questions that you want to ask? Both Emily and I are available to answer questions that you might have about using this new method for building course content. I see Anne is typing a question. How does a course copy affect the collection? Okay, so Anne, when you do the course copy, it just creates the link back to the same place. So you can certainly do a course copy, and those files will still be available in the copied course. The beauty of that is it doesn't create a second copy of the file to be located on the server, so it makes more efficient use of server space. And another thing that I wanted to mention here, let's suppose that you added another instructor to your course. That instructor will still be able to see those files. They won't have access to change the original in the course content collection, but they can delete something. So in other words, let's say that you have a file in your course that was pulling from your user content collection. Another instructor can delete that link and add their own file, but they can't go in and edit the original like I showed you guys and have it update in all the locations. So if an update needs to happen to the file and it needs to go to multiple sections, that would have to be done by the original content owner. I discovered the user content collection this semester when I didn't copy my spring course correctly and lost all my Blackboard tests. Okay, I'm waiting for more info. Ann's typing something else here. I exported them to the content collection individually. So yeah, so if you have, so Ann, let me see if I can give you control to speak. Ann, are you willing to speak to us? So sometimes that's easier for you to contribute, so you can talk a little bit more about that. I've enabled your microphone if you have the ability to tell us more about that. Okay, maybe your microphone's not working.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I later learned that when I did my course copy from spring to fall, there was something in the grade book I should have done, or some option include that to something about grades, and it didn't copy my Blackboard tests over. So, and I didn't realize that the Blackboard tests were treated differently than just regular files when you did a course copy. I guess I forgot that. So, because I haven't used Blackboard tests, they're actually fairly new that I've been using them recently for quick multiple choice kind of just, formative assessments. So anyway, what I've been doing is going to my old course and copying the tests to my content collection and then, exporting them in my new course from there. So anyway, that was kind of how I discovered to use that content collection. And I don't know if I've used that correctly, but that's how I've been using it. So I'm going to now more in the future, but that's kind of how I stumbled across it.
Yeah, and Emily's just typed a comment here. So she said, correct. When you copy the course, if you have Blackboard tests, you want to make sure you choose the option to copy test pools and grade center columns and settings. So if you don't, yes, I think it creates a problem.
Right, it was the grade center columns and settings I didn't copy, and it was not good.
Right, very good. Sue does CC affect the user content collection course copy? Um, Sue, I'm going to enable your microphone so that you can explain what you mean by that question. And Emily's typing, she may already understand the question. Okay, so Sue missed when I originally talked about that. So, um, Sue, when you, and if this doesn't answer your question, please feel free to clarify, but when you do a course copy, um, then those files don't actually get copied again because it's linking directly to that content collection. So it doesn't make another copy of the files. It links to the original source. So it's more efficient use. And those files will still be available, and those files will still, the links to those files will work in a copied course as well. Does that answer the question, Sue? Okay, very good. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Jill's typing the question. Actually, Jill, I believe that the user content collection was new to us one or two versions back. Emily, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So you've always had a course content collection, but the user content collection is relatively new. So you haven't overlooked it for a long time, I don't believe. Yes, it's fairly recent to us, Emily says. I believe we've had access to it maybe since last December's update. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Sue? Can a dev shell link to a user collection? Yes. And then anytime that dev shell is copied to live courses, again, those links will work the same. You can link to any course to the user content collection. Okay, so I'll say it again. So yes, you can use your dev shell and build a course, and then anytime you copy that course, any links that you had to files in your user content collection will get copied into those live courses. Is there a way to transfer access to someone if I stop being course lead? Um, Not that I have been able to find. I've played around with some of the sharing options, Sue, and I haven't been able to get that to work. As long as your user content collection doesn't go away, they will still have access to the files in the courses that they are in. But there's not a way to transfer, or I haven't found the way to transfer access to an individual. So, no. And then Emily points out something important. Others can download the files if they wish to. Can you create a course lead key account and have the same course lead be the owner? That sounds like a good idea. I don't know if we have, I know we don't have a process for that at this time. I don't know if that's something that we could talk with Jacob and see if it's possible. Ann says we have a math department head, so we can access all of our courses as a TA, so this is why it occurred to you. Yeah, and I just don't know. I'm sure that, yes, it would be possible to create that. I just don't know with um, security protocols and whatnot how that would work with our policies, our IT policies, as far as being able to tie something to a particular individual. That's why I don't know the answer to that question. And Sue, Emily's typed a message to you. Dev shells have their own course content collection. Each course has a content collection. The user content collection is more specific to the user. Yeah. Yeah, just to point out, while Ann, I think Ann might be typing something, the content collection that you click on, like I just did at the top of the Blackboard banner here, notice that this says My Content, MG Walton Content. That's what we mean by user content collection. The course content collection, if I go into a particular course and I come over here to the sidebar and I go to content collection, the one that has the course name as part of the course content collection, that's the course content collection separate from user, which has the user's name. And Ann says she's done. Okay, good. Anybody else have a question that you'd like to ask? Okay. All right, so I don't see anyone else typing in the chat. So wanted to take a minute to thank all of you for attending today. We appreciate and your attendance, and if we can in any way answer any questions, if you think of something after this, be sure you can type an email directly to me, or we have a Blackboard help desk email. It's bbhelpdesk@waketech.edu. You can send an email to either of those accounts and we'll be able to answer that. And then Emily's put up the phone number as well for if you would like to contact us via phone. So either way, let us know if you have questions and we'll be happy to answer those. And Emily's typing one more thing. Yep, she's typed all 3 emails. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Sue. All right, thank you, everybody, and have a great, Ann's typing something. Oh, thank you. All right, have a great afternoon, and look forward to seeing you in one of our future webinars or courses.